Hello, BookTube. Well, as you can see, I have a guest. This is Micah Cummins
Hello.
from the BookTube channel, Micah Cummins. You want to go over and subscribe? I'll leave a link to his channel down below. Micah, how are you? How's my favorite senior citizen today?
I'm doing very well. I got Zoom to function for me correctly. My laptop was charged. Didn't have any tech problems, so I'm feeling good today.
And you had your usual festive breakfast of dry oatmeal, or did you spice things up for April Fool's Day with a little cold water?
I I did not spice anything up.
No,
I held
no.
fast to my routine.
I mean, what is this anyway, you
What's
crazy
the point of
hippies?
changing the routine when you nail it?
Well, but
Every,
we have a subject today,
we do
and
indeed.
our subject hinges, in a way, on changing routines.
It
So
does.
these Micah dialogues, we seem in sync for how to hand off the cheesy segues, because there was a problem in the reading world a few weeks
Yes.
ago, and like so many problems, it originated with Michael K. Vaughan, who pointed out that Amazon has the ability to reach into your electronic device and change it.
He scared all of us.
Gave me a scare. The story that he told about how
Yeah.
he downloaded Dune, an ebook
Right.
of Dune, and when the movie came out, Amazon changed the edition of the
They
cover.
plastered the movie cover.
I mean, I'm asking you, Micah, can you imagine waking up face to face with Timothy Chalamet some random morning? I mean, which would you prefer, that or a horse's head in the bed?
True. I mean,
That's what happened to Michael K. Vaughan.
what happened to
He woke
him?
up one morning, he
And
rolled over to the nightstand, and there was Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet welcoming in, exactly, welcoming in the morning. And although that story that he told, most people would say, well, that's a minor thing. That's not a big deal. You only see the cover when the device is off. But it's sort of the principle. It's not the fact that Amazon gave him a movie tie-in cover. It's the fact that Amazon has direct control over the content on the machine.
And many people responded. I made a video. Of course, I made a 40-minute video about that.
Yes.
When I clip my toenails, I make a 40-minute video about
Right.
it. I made a video about that, and a lot of people said, well, the key is just to go into the device and put it in airplane mode. That way, it's not hunting for Wi-Fi. It's not connected to Wi-Fi. It's not connected to the outside world. A lot of people emailed me and said that they put their older devices in airplane mode so that it won't automatically update.
Oh, that's interesting.
But that dovetails with the very worry that we're talking about, because a lot of those people who emailed me said the reason they don't want automatic updates is because sometimes those automatic updates wipe out their libraries.
Right.
So it put a shiver through the spine of e-reading fans. Would it be fair to say that you and I have both been fans of e-reading?
Definitely. Absolutely. I do most of my reading digitally still, less so than before, mainly because Michael's gotten into my head now about every time I sit down to consider purchasing a digital file of something, saying, well, I should just get the physical book of this because it could be changed.
There were a lot of all analog TBRs after that little flap.
Yes. I thought it was very, very interesting seeing people that I had never seen really reading physical books before, suddenly holding up copies of physical books and thinking, I think
Well,
Michael's gotten to them as well.
and the publishing world added to these worries at around the same time, which gave it a tsunami effect. It was around this time that Roald Dahl's publishers announced that they were going to
Right.
balderize his
Which
work.
sent another ripple through BookTube. We got a dozen response videos to that as well.
At first, it made everybody wary that they were going to do this, and that would be that. Those would be the only electronic versions of these books that you could get.
Right.
And people weren't all that in love with some of the racist earlier terminology. That, like you
Right.
say, that wasn't the point. The point was that's not what I asked for, and I don't want
Right.
you to be able to change it for on somebody's moralistic say so.
Exactly.
There was enough of a kickback so that the Dahl publishers decided they'd do both. They'd keep the originals, but they'd also update them for, I guess, I don't even know, a use in schools or something like that. But that
Right.
hasn't stopped
But
other.
there are just both versions now.
Yeah, but other publishers have gone right ahead with changes. Agatha Christie being by far the biggest name that's
Right.
out.
And that one was more recent than even the Dahl. Is that correct?
Yes, and also R.L. Stein, who's still alive, who was
Right.
pretty much
And
against
they
it.
did it against
Woke up and
his
found out.
against his
They
will.
didn't even warn him about it, and
Right. He didn't approve of it.
it made me think. about all kinds of things. It made me, because I have said from the beginning that this is not going to be limited at all. That if you allow this door to open, it will open all the way. That's
Right.
all there is to it. And I'm doing a chapter by chapter read through of the Lord of the Rings. And all throughout the Lord of the Rings, the orcs are referred to as swarthy and slanty-eyed. Now,
Right.
I think that Tolkien probably had medieval trolls in mind, but nevertheless, you could picture some censor coming in and saying, no, no, no,
Absolutely.
I won't do it all. In fact,
Saying
we
this is
already
a
know that
native.
censors think that way, because in the horrible, horrible Amazon Rings of
Yeah.
Power show, the
Yeah.
orcs are all chalk white.
Exactly.
They're the whitest
Going
characters.
in completely ignoring the original description from the text,
Yeah,
which is the
yeah,
complete opposite of completely white.
yeah. Not, I don't think, with any racist element involved, but nevertheless, the
No.
visual description completely different. But on top of that, I was thinking about, there's a scene in Return of the King that no one's ever going to film it. No one ever really even remembers it. There's a scene in Return of the King where the the King Theoden of Rohan is moving his army to help a besieged city, and he encounters a native people. They're not supernatural. They're not Ents. They're not dwarves. They're a kind of aboriginal people.
Right.
They speak in partial sentences. They very much seem like Stone Age people, or Tolkien's nod of the head to the fact that there were pre-industrial people that lived in Middle Earth before all these other people came along, even though his own
Right.
legendarium contradicts that. And all I could think was, well, no, you would have to get rid of these people completely. You would have to
Right.
excise that from the book. That is extremely culturally condescending. And
Right.
all of that stuff happened at the same time. And it sent shockwaves through the e-reading community. That hence this episode of the Micah Dialogues. I wanted to know
Yes.
what the current state of your reading tech is, of any kind.
Fairly similar to how it has been. My main driver, as the tech people say, is still the signature edition Paperwhite from 2021, I believe.
Wow, look at how much bigger it is. See, this is
It's so much bigger,
my main driver is the original Kindle,
which
the entry level Kindle.
tempts me every day, but I
It's
don't need another one,
it's in denim blue,
which is
and it has the
wonderful.
recessed bezels there, so the
The
screen.
recessed bezels. I was gonna say a con for this, that is for most people a pro, is the smooth screen, having no bezel.
Yeah, that's
I
why I
actually
stopped using
do
my
not
Paperwhite.
I do not like that because I'll flip a page.
Okay, and do you ever accidentally activate it?
I do.
That was my main problem, is that
When you just pick it up, if you just want to pick it up and move it, you turn it on accidentally. You're swiping pages. You're doing things, and not that that's a big problem, but it's just a slight nuisance
yeah,
of
yeah.
having
The tech channel said that the problem with these bezels is that they collect lint and dust. I wanted to ask them, where on earth do you live? Do you have any idea how
right.
small these things are? You're not collecting any lint or dust in there.
No, and the other thing with the signature edition, at least, is there is a piece of glass over all of this,
Oh, no kidding.
and then the screen where the text is displayed is slightly recessed, so that what you're touching is not necessarily the screen. It's a laminated screen. And so I believe that your Kindle actually has a crisper
It does.
screen
It's crisper
than
than
this one
my
does.
I don't know. I couldn't do a direct comparison because my Paperwhite is a generation older, but
Mm.
it is extremely crisp. The
'Cause
crisp
I believe
that I
that.
have, it's crisper than my Oasis.
Okay, okay, that would make
And
sense
I
because
think that's the reason. I mean, if you look at the firmware, there's no reason why it would be. I think the reason it's crisper is because there's less in the way. Literally,
that's
less
what
stuff
I
layered on top of it.
think as well. Because I know with this one they say there's more LEDs, so it's a brighter screen. So they've had to make that recess to fit in,
Right.
more LED strips or whatever. For me, I turn the lighting off. I turn the background light off when I read because I want it to be like paper. I don't want it
Right. Right.
glowing at my face. I'll read on my iPad if I want some glowing, blue light. I'm not going to do that here.
Yeah,
Uh,
I thought this was funny when Kindle rolled it out. They became this in basic black and also denim blue. And they mentioned that these new entry-level Kindles are made of a significant portion of recycled material, recycled plastic,
Right.
to help with the ecology, to help with the environment. And they mentioned specifically, they said, oh, you have to dig a little, but they specifically said the black model is like 75% recycled plastic. And the denim blue model is like 20% recycled plastic. And the orders for the denim blue were 10 times that for the plastic.
Yeah.
Because people don't care. Oh, it's environmentally conscious. Oh, but I want the blue.
Exactly. Oh, the blue is less, but it's blue. I want the blue.
Yeah, but it's blue. But
Which
you mentioned your iPad.
Yes.
Any reading? Oh, I have the iPad as well here.
Ah, see, I didn't gather my prompts like you did.
Well, I'm a pro booktuber.
I'll get there one day.
This is my my
I
background.
believe that's
That was
oh,
my background.
wonderful.
Once upon a time.
Is that the 9th generation?
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is just
Okay, so that's the same exact model that I have.
Yeah, it's just called the iPad, and this is the smart keyboard. And
yes,
there's all sorts of talk in the tech community about how reading on blue light backlit screens is harmful for you. I read on an iPad for 10 years. I never noticed any kind of eye strain. I wonder if it's true with you. I mean, before you learned to be worried about that, were you worried about
it? No, it's sort of like this issue with the e-reading that Michael brought to all of our attention that I never really thought of before, and now I think about it every day. Before I knew about blue light being an issue, I never considered that a problem. I never experienced any eye strain.
No.
I read the first Kindle that I read on for a long period of time was the first generation Kindle Fire. I don't have that anymore.
Wow. You don't have it anymore? Why not?
I don't have it anymore. I'm not sure. It was not my own. It was a family purchase that then I read on when I was very little. So I'm not sure where it ended up.
You've had ReadingTech your whole life.
I have. And really, for me, it started with reading on an uncle's Kindle when I was, I believe, 8 or 9 years old. And realizing that I could increase the font size and be able to read better, because I had terrible vision. I had dyslexia, so reading was a struggle. But when I realized I could make the font bigger, I was able to do it. And so really, I read digitally before I read physically.
Oh, wow.
Sort of the flip narrative of almost anyone.
Wow.
Of sort of being introduced to the world of reading through a screen.
I wonder, though.
Being handed a book.
I wonder if that is. I wonder if a lot of people your age. I mean, you're so young; you're practically a fertilized egg. I wonder if a lot of people your age have read on screens. God Almighty, incredible!
It's quite interesting.
The book tech innovation that happened when I was that age was something called the paperback, which had not existed before that.
Right.
Suddenly. Right. And everyone was saying, oh, reading.
Oh, it's so much lighter.
Yes. Half the people were saying it's so much lighter. And half the people were saying, well, it's bad for your eyes and it's going to kill the publishing industry. So these things have been around for a long time.
It won't last for 1,000 years.
No, it won't last for 1,000 years.
That always, leather bound.
That always kills me from when I was at the very end of when I was working in a retail bookstore, I was selling the Barnes & Noble Nook. There was a whole island for the two various Nook devices. And I would talk to customers about them. And I always remember an encounter I had with this timid lady who said, well, I have to charge it. And I said, yes, you do have to charge it. You can't just open it up and read it. It needs electricity. And she said, well, what if I'm away from electricity? I said, well, you can charge it when you get back. And she said, well, what if I'm away from electricity for a long time? And I said, well, it's not, the files aren't going anywhere. You can recharge it from 0 when you get back. And she said, well, what if there's never any electricity again? And I said, well, then I don't think you're going to be caring about your e-reader. I really don't.
That brings up an excellent point of when I bring up e-reading to people, and they always say to me, well, you want physical books in case the grid goes down and you can't access electricity or your digital files. And I always say to them, if the grid goes down, the last thing on my mind, the last thing on Steve's mind or anyone's mind is, how do I read now? There are many more issues.
I'm going to be eating my neighbors.
Right.
That's
So,
more planning to.
right. So
to be caring about the
that really
mysteries of Paris.
that really shouldn't even be a consideration on people's minds. That's such a random thing to be concerned about when
But
it comes to reading.
You said you still feel itchy fingers for tech. You have a Kindle Paperwhite, the latest edition, and yet when you saw my entry-level Kindle, your eyes lit up.
Yes. Yes.
Is that a separate thing? Does
I
that
think
feel like the itch to get a new book?
I'm not sure. I think it may be a separate thing. It may be similar. I'm not sure if it's the same pull as wanting a new book, because with the Kindle, it's more about a new vessel to read the same books on.
And when you pick up your new Kindle Paperwhite, do you feel a little twinge that you didn't feel before? Is there a hint of reluctance?
There is.
Hmm.
There is. I'm more of the last five or so books that I've read over the last couple of weeks. They've been physical. Even my new purchases of books have been physical. I did a book haul recently, all physical. And I think there is sort of a subconscious dialogue running of, well, you should probably just go ahead and buy that book in hardcover and have it on your shelf, and then you could get the ebook from the library, or
Oh, right. So
you could loan it
ebooks
out
from the library? You're part of, what is that called? Overdrive?
Overdrive, yes. So it hooks into the Greenville library system. We have a great digital library here, so I can get almost anything, which is really nice, except for some of the more obscure nonfiction titles. But almost any classic, any contemporary work of nonfiction even is available.
My current reading has been print and ink, has been physical books. Mainly, I tell myself it's because publishers have been behaving themselves and sending me stuff.
Sending you
But I don't know if that's true. It could be that I have an ambivalence. Sometimes I do. I have another prop here. Sometimes I read on the MacBook. This thing.
Oh yes, is that the Lenovo?
Yes, that I saw it on Mark's channel, Book Time with Elvis, and immediately got one. The battery is the bar at the side here.
That is a really interesting design.
On either side, so you can hold it very, very easily. It's just
right.
It's an ergonomic dream,
and
in
it,
a way
it
that
has to have
an iPad is not.
It has to have a similar balance to the Oasis of having
only
in your palm.
As opposed to the Oasis, with this, the battery actually makes the asymmetrical end a little heavier. Whereas with the Oasis, you can barely sense the weight difference, and your hand can't sense it either. So sometimes it goes flying. Whereas with the iPad, if I just take the smart keyboard off, there is no ergonomic to it at all. I'm touching the screen. And if I use the keyboard as a grip, I'm deforming the keyboard. so it's kind of it's not perfect. I still don't have one device to rule them all. I still don't have a perfect
which has been a steep quest for quite some time.
Forever. I want something in indestructible plastic that's slightly bigger than the entry-level Kindle, and that it protects what's on it instead of being wide open to the world. I don't want to have to shut off an airplane mode or anything like that. I want it to protect what's on it. I want the device to do that.
Exactly.
I want it, of course, to charge itself.
That's something interesting of people saying put your device in airplane mode to protect the integrity of the content on the device. In theory, that's a great idea, and yes, it does work. But the moment that you need to add new content onto the device, or you want to go to the Kindle store to buy something, you have to connect it back to Wi-Fi, and instantly your protective maneuver of having airplane mode on gets thwarted instantly.
Which brings me to another subject, which is the piece of tech. Everybody has one. I don't know anybody who reads on, and that is a laptop. An actual laptop. I've got one here.
I have one. I'm using it currently.
This is
it is
the 2019 entry-level MacBook that has almost nothing.
Yes, just two
almost nothing
lightning ports and then a headphone jack. Wow.
So you don't even have a USB-C, or rather a USB thumb drive. You can't even plug a thumb drive into this. You would need
to get an adapter of some kind.
but it's sleek, and all the biggest celebrities use it. But how do you read on a laptop? Do you ever read on a laptop?
I've read on this laptop, which is I use a 2015 MacBook. I have read on it twice.
2015 MacBook.
Yes.
Do you have the what's widely known in the tech world as the cursed run of MacBooks, the one with the touchscreen bar? No, you don't have that. See,
No.
your face just went white with horror because that for some reason Apple thought that would be a good idea to introduce, and everyone hates it. It doesn't.
No, I'm glad. This was a hand-me-down laptop when my dad upgraded to a newer one. So that it's no touch bar, but it has all the ports on the side. It has 3 USB ports, 2 Lightning ports,
Wow.
charging port, headphone jack, so I can plug this thing into whatever.
Well, it's not that Apple doesn't do this. They load the new MacBook Pro with ports. The MacBook Pro even has a port and a cord that comes with the computer that allows you to charge your phone. Another thing.
Wow.
But you know, it's $1,500. This is very entry level, and they announced ahead of time that it's going to have almost nothing. It's going to do almost nothing. It's really good device, really sturdy. But I'm wondering, anybody who's watching, is there an app or a program of some kind that you use that makes reading a book on your laptop really enjoyable? I've never found anything.
I wonder.
The
Kindle application for a laptop is not very good. It's very clunky. It's hard to navigate. I've never gotten it where it hasn't been bugged.
Yeah,
where
it's not very good, and it's the best of them all. As far as I know, it's the best of them all.
iBooks is not very good either on a laptop. It's good on an iPad to some extent, but
yeah, although it doesn't look good on an iPad. It used to.
No,
iBooks used to have wooden bookshelves.
Which was wonderful. I remember
a long time ago with the first iPad and the iPad 2. It used to have wooden bookshelves,
which is an interesting idea for a digital reading experience.
All sorts of nice animations, page turn and book open animations. It doesn't have any of those things anymore. It's just been stripped to this bare computer-like.
You have to wonder why they would downgrade it to such an extent.
Well, I'm assuming they downgraded it so they could sell you an upgrade. So that's just
sure there's a paid version, right?
What I'm not wedded to, you know, crinkly page turn animations or wooden shelves. But if you're going to make it minimalistic and futuristic, like Star Trek, well, then why not do that? Why not? I mean, who knows what you could make it look like there in a case like that, where, you know, where it really was, where you leaned into it being futuristic.
Right. But you just go all the way.
What are your percentages, would you say, for reading now?
So for reading now, as of just this year, I think most likely I'm probably sitting around 85 to 90% print and paper books.
Really? And when you read a print and paper book, do you have, you know, a bookmark for that book? Do you have a pencil?
I have a bookmark. I
those colored tabs, maybe.
I do not use the tabs. I've tried. It's too much. It's too much to think about while I'm reading.
Oh yeah.
I need to annotate this. I need to line. I need to put a little tab here. I need to crinkle and, you know, dog ear this page. And it's like when I read, I just want to be reading, which is why this is still such a great experience. Because
I was going to ask you that. So even though there's that slight hitch of anxiety, once you start reading on your Paperwhite, the world goes away.
Absolutely.
Okay.
To a greater extent than it does with a print book still.
Me too. What explains that? What is the reason for that?
For me, the only thing that I can figure out is that when you read on the Paperwhite, all you are concerned about is the one page that's in front of you in that moment.
That's probably true.
That's all you're thinking about.
That's true. There's a lot of rigmarole with a book, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
We don't think about it because we grew up with them, but there's a lot of rigmarole with a book.
There is.
All sorts of other parts to it. There's all sorts of
everything
that you have to acclimate to. If you're reading one page, the other side of the book has to be somewhere. It has to be somewhere. Is it on a pillow? Is it on, you know, is it on, in your case, someone's head in the bed?
Exactly.
Maybe a horse's head in the bed.
And the other thing, too, is sort of the physical reading experience of a book can be somewhat distracting. if you're reading a mass market paperback that has really tight margins, or where the print goes down into the binding, you have to set it on a table and really crack it open, and you're trying to get to where you can read the page, and it can be distracting. Whereas with this, you have your text and you read
and
it,
that's it,
and you swipe, and you read it,
and
you're also
swiping
not
becomes
seeing,
completely unconscious. You just the swiping becomes, you don't even think about it. You just,
and you're not seeing the rest of the book either. If you're not there's something about not knowing how far into the book you are. I mean, it gives you a percentage, but there's something about just getting lost in the book, getting lost in the narrative, or getting lost in the story if it's nonfiction,
I disable all the indications.
and just being in it. Like, who
I don't
cares
want
how much longer you have in a chapter?
Yeah, I don't want any
Just
of that
read.
stuff. I don't want the text. I don't want the device telling me anything that I don't ask for it.
Right.
I want to ask for information. I don't want devices
Right.
telling me anything. So I shut off the clock. I shut off the percentages at the bottom. I shut off all of that.
It's smart, because it doesn't need to. If you need the time, look at your phone. Look at a clock. You don't need all this data. It's like a really. It's giving you excess information, in my opinion. Because for me, when I'm reading, I don't want to know how much is left necessarily, because I'm just reading it.
Yeah.
And when I turn the page and it's the final page of the book, I've made it to the end of the book.
Yeah.
And
The only thing that is slightly non-immersive in this, and for me, it was also the Paperwhite, is the act of swiping.
Yes.
The one thing that removes even that tiny bit of friction for me is, like, for instance, the Oasis that has page turn buttons.
That is the one thing that I still love about my Oasis. That I still use my Oasis from time to time. The battery life is really bad, so I have to leave it plugged in almost all the time, or else it will drain within an afternoon of reading.
Oh my.
So I can't really take it out with me. So this is what I take with me everywhere. It's always on me.
Is it really? Oh, wow.
Because the battery will last. For me, I'll read on here maybe 3 or 4 hours a day on average with this device, and I only have to charge it maybe once every 2 weeks. So it's wonderful. So it goes with me everywhere. But the Oasis, having the physical tactile experience of a button, is wonderful.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation that the entry-level Kindle was going to have buttons.
I wish it would have.
And everybody wants it, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it. When I'm doing errands, I usually don't bring a device of any kind. I'm worried, even with something that only costs $100, I'm worried that it's just going to be destroyed, which kind of defeats the purpose. But then again, when I'm doing errands, I'm usually not in a position to read.
Right.
So what little reading I do on my phone.
I should have clarified when I say everywhere I go. I don't go that many places, so it's going to work, or going to an event that has an end goal, but I can read on the way there if I'm not driving, obviously.
That's right. You have a job.
But yes. Every day.
You're expected
Monday through Friday.
Oh. What about on the days when you don't feel like it?
Still have to go.
Oh,
still have to go. You can only fake sick days so long.
Oh. I was thinking when you mentioned those plastic tabs, how they distract you from reading.
Mm-hmm.
I had enough people a couple of years ago, saying their praises to me in emails, that I thought, well, I'll give this a try. I had my surly houseboy get a package of them.
Yeah.
They made me sad. Quite apart from the fact that I knew in a minute, I wasn't going to use them. I wasn't going to be carrying these things around or have a supply of them ready. And I wasn't going to start thinking about the book that way.
Right.
In addition to that, it made me sad, because when I had them out of the package and they get everywhere and they fall everywhere, I automatically thought about how fast every single one of those tabs would have been eaten by my beagles. That made me sad, because I actually looked at Frida the first time that they spilled onto the floor, because she wasn't interested at all. She's like, what is this crap you're doing? You're always doing something. She wasn't interested. My baby doesn't at all.
Your beagles would have jumped at that.
They wouldn't have waited for me to get them out of the package. It would have just gone. They were little disposable things. Oh no, they ate all of those things.
Yes. Whereas Frida's just annoyed that you've dropped something into her domain.
Yeah, because it's messy.
Clean up your mess.
She doesn't like mess at all.
And I just think I'm not a big fan of adding extra things that I have to do in order to read. So that's why I've never really been a huge annotator. I do write
Oh,
occasionally in the margins. Um,
there we differ. When I'm bearing down on a book, I have a pencil in
okay,
it's inside the book. I don't clip it to
interesting.
the
Yeah,
side or anything like that.
right.
I
And
put it
just
in the gutter.
dialoguing directly under the lines.
Well, yeah, I also you always tell yourself when you're reading a book critically in order to review it, you always tell yourself you're going to remember everything, and you don't. You're not going to
Right.
remember everything. You're not going to
Right.
remember where you found a particular problem, and it helps to mark those instead. And I have been told by everyone who emails me that if I continue to dog ear books, I'm going to hell. Apparently, nobody likes that.
I do dog ear books. I do. I will do that
Well, but I guess we
occasionally.
already knew that you were going to hell, didn't we?
That was just. I thought that was already on the table. I thought that was obvious.
So, uh, when you look ahead, because Zoom tells me that we're running out of time. When you look ahead, 2023, do you imagine that percentage staying the same, or does it feel like you might drift back to 80% e-reading?
I think I might drift back to the 80% e-reading. I do. I think it's sort of
Better. It is just so much better.
it is.
Just
I think I think I'll always read physical print paper books and I'll always buy them. But I do think that I may shift back to doing a chunk of my reading digitally, especially sort of after the initial anxiety of everything disappearing or being altered
unless it
fades with
gets
time.
worse. Unless that
Unless it gets
anxiety
worse.
gets worse. Who knows what horror story is coming out?
Right.
It's coming
That's
down the pike. That
that's why I will never fully translate my library digitally. I will never say I'm going to get rid of all my physical books and I'm only going to read on my Kindle. That won't ever happen. I will always have books physically in my space. But I do see myself drifting back towards if things don't get worse, obviously.
stories could break. Amazon has never actually confirmed or made public a fact that I know for sure, which is that they are capable of bricking your device.
Yes.
Not
Oh,
all
100%
devices,
they are.
just yours. They're capable of
Yes.
using your Kindle's dedicated email to brick your device so that
Right.
you can't use it anymore,
Removing a specific book from my personal device
or shutting it down
or shutting it down,
so that the
blocking down
files
the
don't even work
device.
anymore. So that it's just a dead piece of material.
Right.
They have that ability. They don't want people to know that.
No, but I believe that that ability is in the hands of any tech company. Apple could do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
They,
It's just
they
I guess it does come down to the company. I can't
right.
imagine Kobo doing anything like that. For
No,
instance. And
no,
my Kobo devices are great. They're fantastic.
right.
Sturdy. They don't go for aesthetics. They're just hard plastic. Really, really good.
And they have the power button on the back,
They have the
like the
power button
Kindle
on the
Voyage
back,
had,
up
so
on
you're
the
not.
top, so that you can't possibly touch it by mistake.
Yep.
They take. I mean, once upon a time, for a couple of years, I used the Kobos exclusively because they took EPUBs, and Amazon
Okay.
didn't. Now Amazon does, but once upon a time, if I've got 10 files on my desktop and I want to transfer them all with a cord, I couldn't do that to my Kindle. I had to
Oh, interesting.
reformat all of them and then email them to Kindle.
That is really interesting.
The one glimmer of hope I'm hoping for is that somebody who's listening to this will have a way to perfect really comfortable, aesthetically pleasing reading on a laptop.
That would be really
I would,
interesting
I would
to
really
discover.
like my MacBook to be
Mm,
all, to be everything. To be
yes.
if I could I'm on it all day long anyway. If I could read on it, that would be wonderful.
Then you wouldn't have to migrate to any other device.
Well, we've already established neither one of us really feels the eye strain of this blue light backlit thing.
No,
And that it obviously has nothing to do with how we spend our days, because you don't look at a computer all day long, right?
I don't.
And I
No.
do, and it doesn't affect either one of us. So
Right.
either it doesn't exist at all, but I doubt that, because I've had enough readers tell me that they definitely feel it. They work on a
Right.
computer all day
And I
long,
know enough people too who have told me that as well.
or it's variable. But I'm on the thing anyway, and I've set up my. I only have two places where I do anything. So
Right.
aside from the bathroom, of course, where I do
You're
most of
either in
it.
right.
But
You're
then
either in
there's
the
no
book room
computer.
or
I
on
do
the
not
painting
bring
table.
electronic devices into the bathroom. I have never understood people who do that, who
No.
bring electronic devices into the only room in the house that has standing open water. Why would anybody do that?
Exactly. The one place that will get destroyed instantly.
Well, it's certainly the one place where it won't bounce, it will splash. And that's
Right.
bad, that's really bad. But I have 2 places. I have the little book room and the fainting couch. And I have USB-C charging cords, nice long ones in both places. So this MacBook is never far from being
That's
charged.
really nice.
I don't have to worry about that at all. I can literally I organize them at both places so that I could literally reach my arm and grab the cord. Don't have to go find
Right.
it. Don't have to fish for it at all. So if I could read on this device, well, that would be great. That would be absolutely great.
It would be. And there has to be some third-party application or something that has achieved reading on a laptop. That
Right.
can't be
That
an
turns your desktop
uncharted
into a book.
territory.
No, it can't be there. I should probably look for it. If nobody knows it, I should probably look for it.
Or even a third-party software that is primarily for textbooks, I would think would have to exist for digital.
Well, you know, PDFs, your Kindle app will read a PDF, but it's an ugly experience.
Right.
But I could easily picture myself drifting back to 80/20 in terms of e-reading, except that publishers have been really, really well behaved. They've been
Right.
lining up to say very, very nice
Is,
courteous yes.
if I'm not mistaken, COVID with publishing stopping the sending of physical books is what drove you to primarily e-reading. Is that correct?
More of it, yeah. Oh, yeah. In the years leading up to COVID, publishers would send a pitch and say, "I can send you this book, and also, you know, I'm including an e-copy of the book just in case." I ignored it completely. So did everybody else. Then all of a sudden, those things became a lifeline.
Right. That's all you had.
We will see. We will see if I drift. But we're almost out of time. I don't want to end in
Yes.
mid-sentence. So,
No.
well, thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
tech update. We'll talk
Absolutely.
next weekend, maybe.
Yes, indeed.
Unless people vote you down, which they easily
Which could happen.
yes, you're widely loathed. But anyway, have a wonderful day.
You too.
Next time.
Bye.